You guys mentioned the Valve stuff.
Yes.
A little bit briefly, but let's just dive right into that thing.
Yep.
Valve's still making a VR headset.
Yep.
Despite I feel like there was some scuttlebutt. You know, they laid off some of their hardware people, and it seemed like there was some scuttlebutt that their VR thing is kind of dying on the vine or whatever. But nope.
Well, all their VR,
it's coming out.
All their VR people went to Oculus,
right?
Yeah. And I thought that the story up until recently was that Valve was not going to be doing hardware.
Yeah.
They were very interested in VR and wanted VR to be a thing just for PC gaming in general. But I thought that they were like sharing all of their tech with Oculus.
They were going to back Oculus and just say, you guys do it.
Exactly. It was like, they were giving talks and stuff and supportive of it because they saw it as a huge new growth driver. But yeah, I know like a lot of their like top architects and stuff. I mean, Abrash went over there.
Yeah, I feel like I kept hearing that like even after a lot of those people went over, that there were still just rooms at Valve devoted to figuring VR shit out.
And
so
there were.
So it was this weird thing of just like, well, wait a minute, like what?
Yeah.
If they got rid of these people, then why does this stuff still exist? Like what's going on? And,
it turns out that stuff actually had a purpose because HTC went and unveiled
VR people.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that.
The name you trust.
Yeah.
At Mobile World Congress, they announced
all good PC peripherals are announced.
Right. Because this thing is so mobile, being tethered to not only a PC, but like a separate device that tracks your motion. Jeff, you would have me believe this is pronounced Viva. Is that correct?
Yeah, or the Vive.
Or Vive?
Like
you said you watched a video. Is that what it is?
No, I was saying you should watch a video before we do this and figure out how it's pronounced.
I didn't have time to watch a video. So we don't know for sure.
I bet it's closer to Viva.
Yeah.
And meaning like live life. Whatever.
Maybe.
Viva VR?
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah,
Viva
maybe.
VR.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you spell it?
VIVE. Yeah.
Vive.
No,
like revive.
No accent on the E.
Yeah. I immediately read it as Vive, like it sounds kind of like Vibe, maybe. I don't know.
That sounds corny as shit.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. That's just how it came off to me. Anyway, HTC is making it. Valve has designed it.
I wonder if they just got so far in the prototype process, they were like, well, we can just hand this over to a hardware maker and they can make it and we can make it.
And like Valve's got enough clout that they can probably call the shots in that relationship, I would think.
They have had some amazing demos. Have you guys ever seen?
No.
They're doing new ones here, but they've had ones that they've been showing people for a while.
We've heard some stuff through the grapevine about that, and it always just sounds like the most amazing shit.
It's pretty cool.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Really?
I did, yeah.
Is there anything you're at liberty to discuss like in detail?
I think I signed an NDA. So, I mean, I know I've heard people talking about, the old demos had just one part that I know I can talk about. It had one of the robots from Portal 2, like in front of you, and you're like, oh, wow, that's really cool. And you're like looking around it, and it's all, very detailed. It's like, I think it was maybe the model from the cinematics or something like that. It was like very impressive. And they're like, Chet from Valve was giving the demo. I was like, okay, no, turn around. And I turned around, and there's the same model is like 3 stories tall behind you, which, you've seen it as a God of War games, and like every game has like the mega huge giant boss thing. But like, I think for selling VR, it's definitely going to be getting people to put the thing on the first time to just try it, because like you can imagine, and nothing was moving in these demos. It was just standing there, but it was still like immediately your brain was like, oh shit. Like your brain was like, that thing could just step on me, kind of. And you didn't have to think about it. You didn't have to think like, oh wow, look how big it is and how small everything is or whatever. It was just like, shit. If it engaged the part of your brain that just happened automatically, in the same way that stepping off of a ledge, when even though that's not really a ledge, screws with your brain and hits like your fear center or whatever it is, like. It was impressive. Like, and they were very cobbled together and very just like, hey, these are just things that we're like messing around with. I think the stuff they're going to be showing here at GDC is going to be much more polished. I mean, obviously it's the real thing. They said it's going on sale this year, right?
Oh wow, I missed that detail.
Dev kits in the spring and then retail in the holiday time.
You're right. Yeah,
so,
that is soon. So I think we're going to start to see some real stuff like what you're talking about like, okay, well, what is the stuff you can actually expect to be playing on this? But even in those demos, I've been a pretty avowed VR skeptic just because of people putting the thing on and not, disappearing from the world for like a half an hour, even a half hour,
or even just like it takes putting one on to understand that it's something you should care about.
Exactly, right.
And so like, how do you get that into a retail environment? Like, how do you do that? Everyone's going to get pink eye. We're all doomed.
Right. Like the Wii, the Wii bowling thing, you could just see somebody doing it, and it's like, oh, okay, now I see everything about it. I see why it's fun. I get it. Whereas here, even somebody describing it, it's like, well, but you look like an idiot while you're doing it. You don't look like you're doing anything normal and natural. So
I think at that point they have to depend on the experience being so amazing that it just gets people talking and gets the word of mouth going, regardless
how about I
of
take it over to your house and you get all your friends in a living room, and then I like give it to a couple people, and then they go out.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
It's like
I feel like I've done that with an Oculus kit of just like, okay, everyone needs to come over here and ride this roller coaster.
Yeah.
I'll have some friends over and they'll try it out and go like, that's fucking incredible. But
VR is the new anime.
All that thing has so far to go, though, compared to like even what Valve's talking about here is like so much more complicated than the original Oculus kit, because they're saying this thing will ship with 2 wireless controllers that allow you to like manipulate things in the environment. Like they're not. They don't seem to be going
it's just
into a lot of
PlayStation Move and sub controller.
no, don't say that.
they had a few warehouses full of them.
Connects.
Yeah, I don't think
Gabe is taking a razor blade to the Sony logo and just scraping it off right now. That's
why you needed all those knives.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going into a lot of detail about what the controllers are going to be at this point, but the headset itself also has a lot of tracking built into it. There are going to be external devices that will allow you to kind of move around in a 3D space, and it'll know where you are and that kind of thing. I don't think there's no reason to believe that Oculus isn't also working on this stuff. It seems like this market is pretty competitive.
Right.
But
everyone, I think, understands what the problems are,
Yeah.
what they can achieve with technology like this. It's just how do you tackle it? Is it
how do you solve
sensors
it the
on the
best?
headset
Yeah.
that can detect the walls? Is it a camera that's pointed at the headset detecting how the headset is moving?
Yeah.
Like those, gyroscopes. Like that, everyone kind of understands what needs to be done.
It's who's going to solve it the best and who's going to solve it the fastest.
yeah, there's definitely like a good old fashioned land grab going on here, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like everybody's racing to be the one that just blows up.
Yep.
So far there's Oculus, Valve,
Sony.
Morpheus,
and then that other
Samsung.
one.
Samsung's got the Gear VR.
Yeah.
And then
Isn't
Microsoft
Gear
has
VR
its
just
HoloLens.
Oculus, though?
yeah.
Is it
What's that?
not- Isn't Gear VR just powered by
Oh,
Oculus?
it's
though?
actually.
Yeah, I think it was in collaboration. I think.
It's basically just those two.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, I forgot Microsoft's got the HoloLens stuff going. Like everybody just trying to stake a claim in this
So
thing.
is that their play for the? Is that
I
definitely?
wonder if they will have a separate. I mean, I think if HoloLens doesn't seem like it'll do VR the same way this other stuff does,
Right.
So if this stuff gains a foothold, they're going to have something,
Right.
Whether it's like, hey, we decided to build support for the HTC kit or the Oculus or whatever route they take, like they'll have to have an answer,
Right.
just for the sake of developers that want to put their games out everywhere.
And have they put a timeline at all on HoloLens?
I don't know.
I didn't think they did. It seems very cool to me, but it also
seems like something that they
far
might
off.
not. It's just like, hey, like sort of like how Morpheus was at GDC last year. Like Sony would freely say, like, this is a thing we're making. Like it doesn't have a release date. We might not put it out.
Yeah, well,
Right,
Microsoft has a history of doing that. If you remember that, like basically a coffee table that was a giant touchscreen that they
Surface.
showed. Like the original Surface.
That came out. In,
I know it's
in
out
enterprise
now. Yeah,
forms. Like,
sure. But they have a history showing this stuff way before it's ready.
Yeah,
really.
they showed the dude who's like the main guy behind it was the main guy originally behind Kinect or whatever, like 8 years ago, and he's been working on it since Kinect or whatever.
Right.
So like he's been locked in that room, like just who knows when
They
it's
let him
gonna
out of the
come
room and said, like, so VR got big.
Right.
And he's like, fuck. Oh, God
See you in 8
damn it.
years.
out. He went back in.
Yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, they're out there making deals with like Lionsgate and like kind of movie companies to get content on this thing. So they're definitely thinking a lot bigger than games. And they've been building the Steam store out in those directions.
I will say the Valve tech was super. Like we've gotten an Oculus. We got the first one, and John got the second one, and I thought the first one was kind of cool, but I wouldn't wear it for any kind of any amount of time at all. And then the second one was like better. The Valve tech at the time, and this was when I saw it. It was a while ago now, but it was by far the best that I had seen. But
Just in terms of how it looks.
just in terms of how fast everything, the resolution and how fast things were refreshing and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And like bear in mind, these demos were all very simple, but they were, it wasn't like you were being lowered in a Shark Tank and anything. And it was like, oh, it's supposed to be exciting. It was like, here is a room made of like web pages of like, they're not even trying. The textures are just whatever they threw up, but the refresh rate and everything is so quick that it was really, really impressive. Like, it was really just cool to walk around a room that was the same basic shape as the room that the demo was in, except it was like had outfitted with pipes and stuff like that. That simple act. Like, I think you're going to see a lot of experiences like that are just like, and Valve even talked about that, how they want to don't just make a first-person shooter and then now have it in VR. That's going to be a terrible game. But like, you need a game, same with mobile, that's designed kind of from the ground up. And a lot of them might just be like the whole game takes place in one room and stuff. You don't move around. But anyway, they had really impressive tech, so I'm very curious to see like their new demos, and presumably this is more advanced. VR stuff is moving so fast now that like something you've seen 3 months ago is like, oh, that old piece of shit. Like we got way better than that now. So
yeah, it's interesting to see them come out and just announce like, here are the specs. Here's what's going to ship this fall as a product that you should buy. Like it's. I feel
like all of Oculus's talk has been like, here's where we're at right now.
Right.
It's always getting better, but this is where we're at.
Like Oculus
today.
has repeatedly like kind of pulled the curtain back on like, what we've got now, but they keep stressing like this is not what the final consumer thing is going to be. But then, what Valve is talking about is, like they're naming, the resolution and refresh rate on their thing and talking about what it does, and like that's what's going to be in stores.
So do they talk about how it works? Like how is it motion tracking or
lasers, and then these like 15 by 15 these positional things
trackers,
set up to track the unit.
It sounded like you need two of them, to get that full 15 by 15 space.
It sounded like it would come with these base stations, Steam VR base station.
Right, and these two controllers, like this sounds like a pretty pricey thing.
Well, all of it sounds pretty pricey.
Right, but when you add in extra controllers and these other things, like the Oculus is just a headset. But
it's at some point that depends on, then they've got these content makers that need penetration for this thing.
Yeah. So
you start to get to that point where like, well, we need to sell it at a loss and get it out there so that people do this stuff.
Sure.
Valve can afford it.
Yep.
So can Oculus.
Yeah.
So
HTC and Facebook, also large companies.
Yeah.
They're probably in it for the long haul.
Like if anything, like you look at Sony and go like, Sony's the one that might not have the money to get that thing out there in a big mainstream way,
right,
or something. I don't know.
Interesting times we're living in.
It is interesting. So, like the one thing, as much as it is like a race and competition, I think is gonna drive this. The one thing in talking with different people doing stuff in VR that are gonna set up to be competitors is that one thing they do all seem to really actually believe that, like, whoever comes out first or whatever, they think it's very important that it succeeds, even if it's not them, because they know, and I think they're right, that you get one chance for people to put a headset on, and it's not going to be like, oh, well, I tried the Valve one and I didn't like it, or I tried the Sony one and it wasn't good, or whatever. It was like, I put the big thing on my head and it wasn't cool, and that's what I tell
I'm never
my
buying
friends.
Whatever.
Yeah,
right.
And it's just it doesn't matter like a year from now or 2 years from now. They just think that's what the technology is.
That basically is what happened in the 90s, right? Like if none of it was ready. And it was a bunch of subpar experiences.
That, I guess, yeah.
And but the idea of virtual reality,
none of it was ready.
Well, no, but also like the idea of virtual reality in general just became like a stigmatized joke after that.
People thought Dactyl Nightmare was as good as that it was going to get.
Right.
I remember seeing some demo in like, I don't know, like 92 or 93 or something like that. It was a tank game, going into someone's office and sitting down. They're like, we got this VR tank thing. You sit down. And it was pretty awesome. You're like, oh, this is, I can look around and shoot this tank.
Right.
And then a guy on a computer, like across from the tank, he had just downloaded Wolfenstein 3D. And we everyone, even the people that worked at that company, we just spent the rest of the time going like, that looks fucking awesome. And no one talked about the tank thing ever again.
Yeah.
That's VR to me.
Right. And then, the Virtual Boy happened, and
well, yeah,
oh man,
yeah,
the rest was history.
Like that's, talk about getting a bad rap. It's like not even VR,
right?
But it still got attached to. I was just dusting off my Virtual Boy.
To be honest, that is,
yesterday.
I do still have memories. I don't know how much you've played your Virtual Boy, but like if you're in that thing for 5 minutes, it's like coming up from an hour of scuba diving.
Yeah,
When you
it's
come out,
terrible.
you're just like,
Yeah.
back into the real world. Your eyes like have to readjust because all they've been seeing is red and stuff. You feel like weird and out
Yeah,
of
like
it.
you've been through an ordeal.
Yeah.
And you got to tell someone about it, but not like, hey, look at this amazing game. It's
Right.
like, no, you're never gonna believe what happened to me. It was the worst.
I've seen some shit.
Yeah, that thing. Fuck.
Yep.
Did you see someone ported like Street Fighter 2 Turbo to it like recently?
No way.
Like a pretty good
Virtual
version of
Boy?
it. Yeah.
Do they
So
have?
how do you play it though?
Yeah.
Like,
Do they have a thing you can hook up to like the cart port?
They're
and the
making
USB?
well, I guess they're making like reproduction cartridges for it or something like
Oh,
that. I'm
man.
not sure, but I saw some video of it. Like someone had gotten one of the cartridges,
Yeah.
and you can walk between Dhalsim's elephants. Man, it's in fucking 3D.
What?
That's
Yeah.
fucking awesome.
Wow.
Like when you get to the sides of the stage, the one elephant's in front of you, one's behind, and it's all in 3D.
Did they find a way to repurpose like the
I
sprites?
think they
or-
just ripped all the sprites out and coded it, like recoded it from the ground up, or I don't know what they did, but it's there's videos on YouTube of people running it. It's ridiculous.
I will say I really liked Mario Clash. Legitimately think that's a good game. It's a lot of fun, and it's hard as hell to play that for more than 5 minutes. Though.
Yeah.
Just like anything on that system.
I remember Teleroboxer was the big
Oh yeah,
like E3 thing. We're just
Yep.
like, oh, yep, okay, robot punch out. These fists are coming at me. Sold.
yep.
So Valve needs a killer app for
Yeah.
their thing. You thinking Red Alarm?
Yeah, Red Alarm
There you
2.
go.
It's about time. Was that T&E Soft did that, I think? I don't know.
Are they invested enough, or is there ever a world where Valve would tie in like one of their properties, or to coincide the timing with Steambox?
I feel like that there is one product that would do very well to sell VR headsets for Valve.
Yeah, like, can you imagine? Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
legitimizing something literally like overnight. They could do it.
The question
How
is,
they legitimize Steam.
That's true.
Are
That's
they
a good point?
Are they ballsy enough to say this is the only way you can play this game?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, it's on the PC. Somebody will hack it apart and find a way to make it run anyway. But
Or even like Half-Life Gaiden side story, like
Yeah.
look at
the
that,
dog
that
story
Japanese
or
arcade
something.
game, right?
Like,
exactly.
on a
There you
man's
go.
quest.
Yeah, they take or like some Portal offshoot, or like you're one of the orbs or something in Portal. I don't know, anything would to some degree, but like, can you imagine them really like treating their box like it's a real system, and
Yeah.
they're going to pull out the gun, they're going to pull out their Mario
Yeah, I mean-
launch game or something? That would be amazing.
Obviously, they've got a lot invested in this, so I wouldn't necessarily discount that happening. I'm just happy to see one of these products coming to market in what they are saying is a final form.
Right. Yeah.
Like finally, the rubber is going to meet the road on some of this stuff. And
Right.
like, they're going to have to put out some software to support it to make anybody care. A lot of stuff happening in the world of games business. Since it's GDC week, it's not surprising, but also as